Hi, Peter Charles here of Hooked Fly Fly Fishing. And today we're going to tie another streamer that has also been tied as a wet fly. It's called Queen of the Waters. It's an interesting pattern that uses a collar technique, so the hackle is wound over the wing. And I think this is one of those patterns that will do very well, kind of a natural look to it. I think it would be quite an effective pattern. Okay, let's look at the materials. Our hook is a Mustad 2 extra heavy, 5 extra long, in the size 4. Our thread is a white Vivus 8/0. We're going to be coloring it black when we get to the head. We're going to use golden pheasant tips for the tail. Our rib is uni mylar in a size 14. We're going to be using the gold side. The body is orange floss. The wing is gray squirrel. And the hackle is brown hen. So let's get going. Okay, stop it at the hook point. Now we take our golden pheasant. I'm going to cut off a section. I don't try to tear it off. I trim it off with scissors. And the reason for that is to avoid it from misaligning the tips. There we go, the tips are aligned. I'm going to tie it with the second black spot fairly far back. And just straighten it up. A few wraps to hold it. There we go, perfect. Now for our tag, and we're going to tie it in the length of the hook shank here. So I'm just going to pull that back so it is the length of the threaded part. We're going to trim any ragged bits off afterwards. And now the floss. Same thing, leave it long. A few wraps at the back. Now we come forward. Just keep everything on top of the hook. Okay, now we wind our floss body. Now you notice what I've done here by wrapping over those tag ends. I've made a perfectly flat body. If you were just knocking this off and you weren't interested in making it really pretty, you could just trim those tags off at the back end of the hook shank. Just live with the bump. I'll leave that up to you. Okay, flatten your floss. I'll put one turn at the back and then I'll bring forward. Watch the hook point. Now one thing you can do when you're getting down to the short ends of the floss, if you don't want to have it slip out of your fingers, which can happen, I'll put hackle pliers because I've just got a little bit of floss left, and as I get close to that end I could very well easily lose my grip on the floss and the whole thing come apart. There we go. So now I've got now there's tension on the floss, and I can take my time winding it in. So when you're getting close to the end, if you want to, slip on a pair of hackle pliers just to keep it from falling out of your fingers, slipping out of your fingers, go right for it. I mean, I think it's a kind of a little extra step that can save you grief when you lose your grip on the floss and it ends up all over the place. Very frustrating after you've tied a nice body. Okay, now we wind on our gold rib. You could also put hackle pliers to your rib as well if it was on the short side, especially with mylar. That stuff is slippery, so I've lost my grip on a mylar rib before now. Very frustrating. Oh, there we go. Just the sort of thing I was talking about. Very frustrating. So I'm going to come in here, grab my hackle pliers, just get hold of that tip. Sometimes it's good to leave these mistakes in place in the video. I can show you how to get around it. Now, because we have lost some length here, I'm going to put on a more widely spaced turn, so I still have some tag left to work with, and I'll leave my hackle pliers in place. So you'll see how the tension works to keep that material from slipping out. Now you can trim it off. It's not going to come out. So now what's different now is we're going to be using our squirrel tail before the hackle rather than after the hackle. If you've ever tied a rusty rat, this is the same style as a rusty rat. Get rid of the short stuff, and I'm not tying a really bulky tail. I think probably we'll stack this one. I should say bulky wing, I should say. So there's take it out of the stacker. Get rid of the strays. Now you want that about halfway down the tail. Trim it off. Now with squirrel, take your thread through half the wing and then put it in place. Get rid of the stray bits. The reason for doing that is squirrel is slippery, and by putting your thread through half of it first, it creates a lock in of the hair that's in the middle of the head. Okay, bring your thread to the back. You can put a gentle wrap back there to keep things in place, and then just come forward one wrap. Now we're going to do our hen. We're going to use both sides of the hen feather because we want a fairly bulky hackle. This one is not a delicate little hackle, it's got some bulk to it, so tied my little triangular tying in point, bind that down tightly. Now at this stage you can put a little bit of black on your white thread. Okay, just fold that back. Be careful with some of these hen quills, they can be easily broken. You can see how I'm pinching the hackle back. Make each turn go in front of the previous. There we go. One of the tricks you can do, it adds a little bulk, but you fold that quill back, and you can break it off. And when you fold the quill back like that, it locks the hackle in place. You know, you're not going to worry about that hackle pulling out. Now to whip finish. Now before you put head cement on, it doesn't hurt to come in with your toothbrush and just get that lined up. There we go. Now for the head cement. Okay, there's our Queen of the Waters tied streamer style. An attractive pattern, very kind of buggy with that brown hackle. I think it will perform quite well. I really like the look of this fly. I think this is sort of fly that I would like to fish for trout. It's one of those things I think would be quite effective, especially in brook trout waters. I think this would be a good brook trout streamer. So give it a try, the Queen of the Waters. Cheers.